Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. If you ever wonder why conservatives are skeptical of government, here's why. Let me tell you a little story. In Sweden, the government is forcing preschools to be gender neutral. Yes, it's just as crazy as it sounds. A school ignoring basic biology. Children in Sweden can go to preschool as young as 1 year old. In these government-mandated gender-neutral classrooms for tots, teachers hold training events to indoctrinate toddlers in radical, progressive, anti-science gender theory. Training events. Can you say communist social engineering? Can you say creepy? During these training events, preschool-aged boys are forced to massage each other's feet since the government says that's a stereotypically girlish activity. Preschool-aged girls are forced to walk barefoot in the snow since the government says that's a boyish thing to do and will help build up girls' masculine side. Little boys are put in charge of the play kitchens, and little girls are taught to practice screaming no at the top of their lungs. Keep in mind, this is all in an effort by the government to diminish gender differences. It's social engineering, but it's worse. The students aren't allowed to say boys and girls. They're only allowed to say friends. Does that ring a familiar bell, comrade? They aren't allowed to use gender-specific pronouns like he or she. They're indoctrinated only to use gender-neutral pronouns like hen. If the little girls are too girly and the little boys too boyish, teachers reprimand the parents for, quote, gender mistreatment. I played with Barbies with my sisters all the time when I was a kid. My brother had a plastic toolbox that he loved before he could even walk. Would my parents have been reported to the government for gender mistreatment for this? You have to ask, because in Sweden, I think they would. See, this is part of the progressive agenda. Replace God with government. Tear the family apart by sabotaging marriage. Tear marriage apart by redefining institutions that have existed in our world for thousands of years. Ignore biology. Erase gender. Without gender, how do you have a traditional marriage? You don't. Without marriage, how do you have a strong family unit? You don't. Without a family unit, who are you supposed to rely on? What's the backbone of society? Well, government. Bernie Sanders thinks we should be more like Sweden. He wants to serve us Medicare for all, a government-funded socialized healthcare system run by the same kind of bureaucrats who make little boys touch each other inappropriately to try to make them more like girls. The left wants government to pay for school from start to finish, free college, and guess who controls the curriculum when government pays for all of it? Oh yeah, the government. If you think this gender-neutral mandate, this social engineering, this indoctrination, this abuse won't come here to the United States, think again. Politicians in California already want to throw nurses in jail who accidentally misgender their patients. In the UK, a teacher was fired for referring to his class in an all-girls school as, okay, girls, let's get started. There was a student who identified as transgender in his class. The teacher didn't even know it. He was fired anyway. If we are not brave enough to speak up and say, biology is biology, it's not bigotry, girls are girls and boys are boys, and they are equal, but they are scientifically different, then this is going to happen here in America next. And that's my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, and until then, have a good night.